All right, I wanted to very briefly kind of go through grading for you. I know it's nerve-wracking. It's my least favorite part of class too, if you didn't know, is the fact that it's my job to judge your learning. When even I don't think that class should be the most important thing in your day most days. Anyway, but that's okay. I recognize you have lives. I do my best. That's part of my philosophy behind the way that I set up the grading system in my courses, and I hope it makes sense to you when I'm done. Okay, so you should have already seen, if you looked at the syllabus, what the categories are that I'm looking at in a particular class. Most of my classes have 3 to 4 categories that I'm focused on grading you in. Usually there's some participation portion because I do teach leadership, so participating with people is a part of things. But also a lot of times there's application assignments where you're applying the principles that we're learning. I teach applied sciences, same thing. So the class we're looking at right now is a lighter course. It's a 2 credit or a 1 hour credit course. So it has a little less going on, but still I think all of my grading schemes are the same. So ideally you can understand where I'm coming from when I talk about the categories and things like that. And then I also use that 0 to 2 rubric, right? For almost everything. So if you have a big paper, it might be worth 10 points total, but it's because there's 5 sections and each section is being graded on that 0 to 2 rubric. 0, you totally missed it, you plagiarized like crazy, or you didn't do it at all, right? 1, if you kind of got there, but not all the way. 2 means you nailed it, you did everything I asked, and you did it usually with sources if it's a paper to back you up, because this is applied science, you should be applying evidence, blah, blah, et cetera, et cetera. 3, maybe if you just like knocked it out of the park and just overperformed like crazy. Again, the thought process behind that is that's how I was always graded at work. In the real world, that's how I was graded. I wasn't graded with these complex, really detailed, perfect rubrics, right? And so to me, that's what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to appraise your performance. So I use a performance appraisal scale to do that all throughout our class. So everything that we grade is usually either completion, did it or not, or performance appraisal, okay? So that's just kind of general little stuff. All right, so let's actually take a look at the grades for this class. I'm impersonating a student. I'm not a real student. So this doesn't look exactly the way yours would, but it's close. So you can see here, this gray part, right? This is the category. Okay. And I usually put notes in here for you so that you're not confused, ideally, at what you're looking at. So bummer, D2L is unable to do grading for me for anything except multiple choice quizzes. Everything else is hand graded by me. Good thing, bad thing, right? So one of the downsides of that is you will watch these numbers go up, because I always start my classes where everybody starts at 0, and each little thing you do that gets graded can add up on that 0, right? You can only watch your grade go up. It'll never go down ever. So that's good and bad. The good part of it though is I've been doing this a while and I've tested other methods of presenting the grades to students in classes. This is the one that everybody says is more clear, right? They say it makes more sense. They don't get confused. They don't also do some things and then come to find out that something weighed a bunch more than they thought, and they chose not to do it that week because life got crazy or something, and then all of a sudden they went from like a C to an E or an A to an E, and they didn't understand that was going to happen and they freak out. This stops those moments, though I know that it is anxiety producing to start at a 0 and to stay there for a long time, because to get up to even, a D or a C, you've got to have a 60% or plus in the class, which it's going to take 60% or so of the class to get there. So you won't get there until we're, 3/4 of the way done. And that in a 7.5-week class, especially, it takes a long time. It can be 6 weeks in. And then you're going, oh my God, there's only a week of this class list. Am I still failing? You're not failing. You're just building slowly to the point where the university says you're no longer failing. Okay. So anyway, sorry, I shouldn't be laughing about your grades. I know they're stressful. I'm sorry. This way is what I try to be more clear. My goal is clear, flexible, and fair. Those are really the 3 words that I wanted when I put together the grading schemes for my classes. So again, I've got these categories, right? I know that's a little annoying because you don't know, like getting started here, it shows is worth 4 points, but that's not going to equate to 4 exact points in the weight achieved for the category. I know that's annoying. I'm sorry. I apologize. There is a reason for this. The reason that I do it this way is because it means that I can take things in and out of the weights without affecting my syllabus, because I'm legally not allowed to change things midstream ever, stuff like that. If something goes wrong, like one semester, it just happened to be when they switched APA, right? So everybody like failed the APA quiz because it was on APA 6. My bad. I didn't know. APA didn't bother to email me. I didn't know that we'd switched to 7, and all my incoming students were on 7, and there were some big changes in that meant that like that whole quiz, everybody failed. So I was able though to just take that quiz away, just take it out of the whole scheme, and that was fine. Because I use a weighted scheme, I can do that. If everything had a particular point total only and it added up to exactly 100 points for the semester or whatever, that becomes much harder to do. And then it means my syllabus isn't right, which I'm not supposed to change once the semester starts, things like that. It just gets much stickier and trickier. This way I can be like, look, this isn't fair. We need to adjust this. It doesn't change the weight of the category. It doesn't change the weight of how much that's supposed to affect your final grade or anything else. It gives me the flex though to say, ooh, this isn't right. Let's adjust, right? So that's the goal behind the reason why I use the weighted categories. It gives me more flexibility to be more responsive to what's actually happening in a semester, in a course, etc., without it having these tremendous effects on the grading and being super confusing, ideally. Again, the goal, it works well for me. I hope it works okay for you. I really do. I'm not being sarcastic at all. I really do want the courses to be in service of my students, but it does also have to work on the back end for me. So in this class, you can see 2 class meetings is the next category. So all these little things people can do. Some are marked bonus. I do not love the way D2L shows you bonus as like an afterthought. It should be on the front. It should be a star, whatever. Just so you know, so this kind of will show you how these add up to reaching this. And so as these change, you would see these numbers go up. I'm a terrible student because I'm not really a student, I'm a professor, so I have zeros. You should not. You can see how it shows you this category grade, and it's the category grades that add up to 100 that lead to your final grade, right? So I want to show you 2 really quickly here. This little icon next to each category will open a pop-up. I don't know if it lets you see the pop-up on the screen in Zoom, but it opens a pop-up that'll show you the grade distribution for the class and the class average for this category for the class. That's great for, say, 4 weeks in, you're still labeled an E, you're freaking out. Click this, see where everybody else is. Where do you fall? Are you good? Okay, then you're good. You're doing the same as most people in the rest of the class, except maybe an outlier on the who's done too much OCB credit, who's way at the top, or an outlier that's done nothing, that's at the bottom, right? If you're in the middle, you're okay. You're doing fine. You're probably going to be okay. It's one way to help relax yourself about what you see if it does produce a lot of anxiety. This also can help you remember that you have 10 possible points for a final assignment, right? So that means you should never even make it to a B before the very last thing is in and graded. A B would be the top grade you could probably have at that point, just to help you with any anxiety you might have about your grades. One other thing I want to point out is feedback, right? It's all the way over on the right. Not sure why they make it so teeny tiny. Maybe they didn't think you'd get any. I don't know. Overall feedback is feedback that I send to everybody. That'll be stuff based on trends that I noticed that I feel like everybody needs to know. I don't always explain things perfectly. Sometimes we run out of time when we're live and I don't get to say everything I needed to say about something. And then you guys do an assignment and I go, oh man, I missed this concept clearly. So one of the other things about grading this way, and one of the reasons I'll wait to grade some assignments until everyone has probably turned it in, instead of grading quick as soon as each person tops it, is because it's more fair that way. So it allows me to take a holistic look at what everybody's stuff looks like. So if I'm just grading it one by one, and I'm not looking at what everybody's work looks like, one, I can't anonymize it then. If I look at everybody's at the same time, I can't anonymize it and I won't necessarily know who turned in what. That's a good thing that, that's more fair. But the other upside of that is if I miss a concept, I won't be holding you to task for it because I'll notice, oh, wait, everybody missed this. Yeah, that's probably my fault then, not yours, right? So that's what overall feedback is too. It gives me the chance to correct any more global misunderstandings or global missed concepts that I think are really important. But if you see regular feedback, it doesn't say overall, then it's just from me to you, right? Please always feel free to respond to that. Always feel free to respond if you don't feel like a grade is fair, you don't get it or whatever. Email me about it is fine. Legally, I'm not supposed to reply to non-U of A emails if it's about even to say that you're in one of my classes, I'm not supposed to do that. So make sure it's from your U of A one so I can reply. We can talk grades, whatever you need to do. You can also, if you need to turn something into that's about the same assignment, you can respond in that same Dropbox if it was a Dropbox. If it's a quiz or a discussion, I know that's pretty harder to do, especially if you don't want it to be public. If it's a discussion, that's fine. Email me, let me know. And just make sure sometimes you use different terms for things than I do. So if it's a grade specifically and you need me to look at it, you can always screenshot this stuff or print it or whatever it is you need to do to make sure that I understand what you need to know, right? That's really, I want to help. I never want you confused. So the other thing that will show up here after the add drop period is gone usually. So it depends on the class, but a couple weeks in, or a lot of times I'll do it right after our first live session, is your final grade will auto calculate and it will show up at the top of this, I think in this white space. It doesn't for me because I'm not a real student, but same thing, it will be auto calculating and adding up these weights for you throughout the semester. Again, it always starts at 0, but all you can do is go up from there. Your grade will never go down. So you'll watch that number just go up, up, up a little bit at a time until towards the end when it should be close to what you're going to get in the class as a whole, right? And again, it should have this little icon to look at a chart so you can see how you're stacking up against other students in the class with your final grade as well. And I think it has a little calculator next to it too that shows you how it was calculated and added up. So if at any point you need to see that, at least the computer will do that for you. And then if you have issues with it or whatever, that's when you come to me and I'm happy to help. So I hope this helps you make sense of why I do things the way I do. I promise I've been doing it a little while and I do think this is the best way. I know a lot of people really like classes where there's no weights and it's just exact. And it makes it easier for you to tell what your grade is at any given moment. I do get that. I hear you. I liked that in college too. But what it also meant is my professors were never willing to change anything midstream if we needed to. And they didn't have room to adjust and they couldn't. And I've just needed that room one time too many to want to get rid of it. So I like having the wiggle. I feel like it's more fair for you and for me, and means that, we've also occasionally like added an assignment I know that sounds crazy and I don't see you asking me to do that, but it's happened. And so we've added a couple things or done something different or whatever. And it's just been nice to have. So I feel like it's important. It kind of works for my mentality in terms of how I handle classes. Again, my goal is clarity. I know this is a little less clear, but I hope it at least makes sense why the categories are weighted the way they are, how that auto calculates for you, and what you're looking at when you look at this. If you have any questions, you know where to find me, but I thought this might help a little. I've been meaning to make this video forever. It's coming from pandemic office, but you know how that goes. And yeah, here's to a great semester where we hopefully all understand the grades that we're giving out or getting in your case, even if we don't love the system, right? Exactly. Okay.